55億だもんね。
あのガキ、何が大海賊時代じゃ。2年前のあの日、終わるはずじゃった。わしが海軍が終わらせたはずじゃった。
Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Today, we will talk about Akainu's power, someone who has long intended to destroy Monkey D. Luffy. Not only that, but someone who could easily become the Pirate King if he left the Navy. And this is according to Oda himself. We will discuss this and much more in today's video, and I already count on your support to give a thumbs up. Your like is very important and helps the channel. I also hope you will subscribe if you're new here. You are very welcome to our crew. Sakazuki, or better known as Akainu, is visibly one of the most powerful people in the world of One Piece. But did you know that the Fleet Admiral, according to Oda, could easily become the Pirate King? As we know, Luffy's dream is to reach Laugh Tale, or rather, Laugh Tell, and basically find Roger's legacy there, become the Pirate King, and find the One Piece. However, in an interview that took place around 2014, Oda, when asked about Akainu, made a shocking revelation about the current leader of the Navy. Or rather, that if Akainu were not a great sailor but instead a pirate, he would quickly become the greatest of pirates. This is because Oda stated that if Akainu were the protagonist of One Piece, he would simply find the One Piece in just 1 year. But what does this mean? What does Oda, the creator of One Piece, consider Sakazuki to be unstoppable? Easily more powerful than the Yonko? Is Luffy still infinitely distant from surpassing Akainu? Well, before we talk about the powers of the Fleet Admiral and the current powers of the Straw Hat, we need to analyze Oda's statement. Basically, first of all, what did the author mean by this statement? After all, we have two interpretations. The first is that Oda meant that in the first year of publication of the manga, with Akainu as a pirate, having the power he possesses, and being the protagonist of the series, he would simply traverse the East Blue, enter the Grand Line, travel through the New World, and reach Laugh Tale, finding Gold D. Roger's treasure in just 1 single year, thus surpassing all the other pirates who dared to venture into the sea. And well, this was the interpretation that most people had regarding Oda's message, that he would quickly reach the One Piece. But there is another interpretation of the same statement that seems to be what the author really intended to convey. By stating that Akainu, with his current power, having started an adventure as a pirate, would find the One Piece in just 1 year, he did not mean that in 1 year of manga publication, but rather that he would easily navigate through the adventures that Oda had created for his protagonists. As we know, at the beginning of his journey as a pirate, Luffy was extremely inexperienced, and for that reason he faced various difficulties when encountering enemies that crossed his path, which led to his journey being extremely delayed. However, even with all this, and even with the time skip during which he trained, Luffy has only just started his journey as the captain of a pirate crew just 2 years ago. In other words, for Akainu, who was already terrifyingly powerful, he would not need to train. He would also easily defeat Luffy's enemies. Buggy, Kuro, Don Krieg, Arlong, Crocodile, Enel, and most of the adversaries Luffy faced and struggled against could be easily defeated by Akainu, who was already extremely powerful, to the point of not even fearing facing Edward Newgate. So, with all this, we can understand that as a protagonist of One Piece, he would easily pass through everything that Luffy went through. And as of now, with all the difficulties that the Straw Hat has faced, he hasn't even reached 3 years of adventure. So, for Akainu to go through all of that, and more in 1 year wouldn't be difficult. In summary, if we changed Oda's statement to say that if Luffy had Akainu's power level as an admiral right when he started his journey, he would quickly pass through everything he has gone through until today and evolve even more on his journey. But returning to the main point, this statement does not mean that if Akainu crossed paths with Newgate, Kaido, Linlin, or other great adversaries, he would easily win. In fact, it only means that with his power and experience, he would fare better in those situations, or something along those lines. So obviously, Akainu is not invincible. I actually have to admit that I wish Sengoku hadn't held Garp back and let him melt a certain volcano in Marineford. However, now that we've talked about Oda's statement and seen what he possibly meant, let's discuss Luffy and the Fleet Admiral. As we know, Akainu is a terrifying figure. This is because since his time as a Vice Admiral, he already showed himself to be unstoppable. As for example, he destroyed the evacuation ship of Ohara during the Buster Call, simply because maybe a scholar could have escaped. And as we have seen, all admirals have knowledge of haki. However, Akainu has only been shown using Busoshoku Haki and was impressed to see that Luffy possesses the Haki of the King. And now, as we know, after the time skip, Luffy has greatly evolved his Haki power, learning how to control it. This obviously doesn't mean that Luffy is as powerful as Akainu just because he possesses the Haki of the King. After all, we saw how Aokiji, even without possessing or demonstrating the Haki of the King, is strong enough to push Doflamingo away, as we saw when he saved Smoker. In other words, having the Haki of the King doesn't make you more powerful than anyone else. However, at the same time, we now see that Luffy possesses the power of advanced Haki of the King. At least he was able to use it in the confrontation against Kaido. This could be his advantage in a confrontation against Sakazuki, especially when the Straw Hat is more experienced. We know that Akainu has the power of a Logia type, Akuma no Mi, which means that only those who can use Busoshoku Haki can touch him, making him practically invincible against most pirates outside the New World. He is also quite dependent on the powers of his Akuma no Mi, but what about the power of the Sun God? With the awakening of the Hito Hito no Mi, Luffy, with the power of Nika, the fruit of the Sun God, experiences a significant increase in strength, endurance, and flexibility, along with gaining unique abilities that allow him to distort reality in a comedic and surprising way. This power transforms the battlefield around him, giving Luffy the potential to outmaneuver a powerful opponent like Akainu. Akainu, in turn, is one of the strongest marines and possesses the power of the Magu Magu no Mi, the lava fruit, which is extremely destructive and capable of injuring even the user of a common Logia, as we saw when he defeated Ace. This fruit is incredibly powerful in direct combat and has a natural advantage against fire-type abilities. Luffy would still face a challenge due to Akainu's brutal and relentless nature, but with the power of Nika, he can surpass physical limits and adapt to direct lava attacks, mitigating part of the devastating impact of magma. In the end, while Luffy has a greater chance of defeating Akainu with this ability, victory would still depend heavily on the situation, strategy, and endurance of both. We know that the confrontation between them involves much more than just strength, considering their history and the emotional intensity of a battle between them. Even so, with all this, we can't expect a new confrontation between Luffy and Akainu where the pirate can finally end that battle. After all, even with Luffy being able to use this power, he still lacks experience. At the same time, we know that a confrontation between Luffy and the Marines is possible, especially now that Garp has been captured by Teach, and a meeting between all the great powers could occur due to the news of this event. And this time, with all of his evolution along with the evolution of his crew who weren't with him during the Marineford confrontation, they could all go together to rescue Garp, which could put Luffy face to face with Akainu, who has already stated that he sees the Straw Hat as one of his greatest targets. But comment below what you think about Luffy's evolution and about Oda's statement regarding the Fleet Admiral Sakazuki. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.